So yesterday, the new major security breach update dropped after a few weeks of quiet delay. The changes made are absolutely huge to the community. I'll be quickly running through some notable patch notes across 4 different categories, and then giving my opinion on what this means to the game as we go through. Each of the categories will be put into sections on the timeline below, so you can skip to whichever part you're interested in. So let's get into it. A huge complaint the community had about Security Breach was the lack of waypoints to key objectives, such as obscure pathways out of the loading docks. A new waypoint spotlight is now shone on the trash compactor in the kitchen, and new signs in the atrium point to the loading docks to locate it more easily. I think these changes are incredibly minor and only really helpful for players starting out. I never really had a big problem finding any places in the Pizzaplex, and if I did, a 1-minute YouTube video would help me find it easily. And after that, I just got used to the layout. Knowing what to do, on the other hand, was confusing at times. I wouldn't say the trash compactor was one of the confusing parts for me, but again, this was not the main focus of the update, and I think Steelwool is taking these changes the right way for future. Personally, I think adding an optional holographic arrow or display on the map of where you need to go would be super helpful, especially for new players such as those from Xbox, which I'll talk about later. But maybe that initial lost feeling is the aim of the game. Some notable changes were made to gameplay, including reduced stun and recharge time for the Phaser Blaster, and Burn Trap's fight was made somewhat easier. Honestly, I really like how the Phaser Blaster has been made much less powerful. As soon as it was obtained, all the animatronics aside from Monty became completely ineffective in any scenario, and completely lost their intimidation factor. By lowering its stun time, it requires the player to use the weapon more sparingly and strategically, like the Phas Cam. As for what this means, it shows that even solid aspects of the game, such as the Phaser Blast, are still alterable. Steelwool is saying they are happy to take on any criticism from the players. This is especially good news going into future DLCs to the game, where community suggestions may be taken largely into account. Moving on to the Burn Trap fight, while I found it fairly challenging, I do not think there was anything that really needed changing. I would have really liked to get some further explanations, as Roxy's mechanics confused me a lot. But overall, it ended up not being particularly challenging once you got the method. So I'm not sure how necessary this change was, but let me know what you think below. Aside from the addition of a new save spot in the atrium, I think the quality of life changes were made to be more subtle details that just added an aesthetic and satisfaction to the game. To list a few, security bots now have a gradiented light radius, changes to the Phas Watch make the transition to the interface much smoother, added color coding to daycare generators, and the ability to skip in-world cutscenes. The last one specifically is an addition we've been waiting for since December. When taking a look at these finer details up close, it does bring a new life to the game. The security bot lights look fantastic and natural compared to before, and the transition to the Phas Watch is much cleaner, and something so simple makes the overall experience of the game so much better. As for the ability to skip cutscenes, I am a huge fan. I kept on messing up in the Burn Trap fight, and each time I would have to watch the cutscene, which hugely took away from the epicness of Burn Trap's reveal. Being able to skip it saved time and allowed me to enjoy the gameplay more. I'm sure the speedrunning community would agree. And finally, having a loading screen for starting the game and loading larger areas makes the game feel far more complete, and watching Chef help you make pizzas makes loading time feel way shorter. And finally, the bug patches, a truly massive undertaking from Steelwool, and the amount and scale of the bugs they have patched is really amazing. Steelwool has definitely delivered on the patches promised in December, such as stopping jump scares taking place during credits or cutscenes, as well as disappearing characters during jump scares. I actually had this happen after completing the Burn Trap ending, and it was more than disappointing to go from emotional over the ending to annoyed I had to redo the whole fight again. Another major issue fix was the world unloading when entering Freddy or a hiding place after jumping. This one did actually save me when I was collecting every collectible and left a gift in the daycare after getting banned, but overall having such a serious bug puts this game in league with Cyberpunk, so I'm glad that it was fixed. The last major fix I'll talk about in depth is an upgrade to Roxy and Monty's AI. Having a single player game with the only other interactions coming from AI requires the pathfinding and capabilities of the AI to function. Such a major issue with Security Breach was that AI was just not good. Jumping on a slightly elevated point not only made the animatronics incapable of reaching you, but just straight up losing sight of you and walking off doesn't look good for the game. A large majority of the changes, however, were far less widespread issues. For example, achievements on PC not being registered, destroyed animatronics still having their unbroken model in some areas, and item visuals like the Phaser Blast and flashlight overlapping when switched too quickly. You may have had some of these issues before, I know I did, but they were not completely game breaking like the other changes patched. To briefly cover cover a few points not addressed in the patch notes, some massive things are happening over in Stillwell Studios. Firstly, their 3-month exclusivity deal with PlayStation will be ending in exactly 2 weeks. This means, as I previously mentioned, Security Breach will be available on Xbox for all console players to play. This new flood of players is surely what a lot of these bugs have been fixed to accommodate for, and I'm personally really excited for the community on Xbox to play the game they have patiently been waiting for months. The next major news concerning DLCs coming to FNAF is that they will be coming fairly soon. A recent Reddit post and an addition to the official Stillwell Studio website shows they are hiring staff, and by taking a quick read it can be noted that pluses include a passion for horror games, which, as Stillwell are currently not working on any other horror games, can be assumed to be hiring to aid in development of DLC content for Security Breach. And that is all the news and updates I have for you guys today. If you did enjoy this video, drop a thumbs up, and if you're interested in more FNAF content, take a look around my channel. And finally, thank you for watching.